I am back. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry that I've been gone for so long, but nonetheless, I've returned and I think it is appropriate that we start off with a bang. So, in today's video, we are going to be talking about Star Wars. I have been on a Star Wars kick recently, and with the recent release of the new season of The Mandalorian, it is only appropriate that we talk about Star Wars. So, let's just dive right into it, shall we? And what we'll be doing is going through some Star Wars facts. These are facts, apparently, that even fans don't know. So, we'll see. I'm not like a hardcore Star Wars fan, so I might not know some of these, but if you're a big Star Wars fan, like a diehard, then maybe this is going to be something that you knew already. You'll have to tell me in the comments section below. So let's just dive right into it. R2-D2 once spoke English and was kind of a jerk. The R2-D2 that we all know and love speaks only in beeps and whistles, a robot language that most of his friends can understand, but in the original draft of Star Wars, written in 1974, R2-D2 spoke incomplete sentences. Even more alarming, he was not the lovable goof he would later become. He was actually kind of a bully, berating his pal C-3PO with insults like "you're a mindless, useless philosopher," and "you're nothing more than a dim-witted, emotion-brained intellectual. Why you were created is beyond my logic systems." Honestly, that would have been kind of funny, but yeah, he does sound kind of like a douche there. I don't know about that. The beeps and the boops are a little bit better, I would say. The original Return of the Jedi ending saw Luke Skywalker turn evil. Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers from 1980s. Hopefully you've seen it, and if you haven't, I don't know why you're watching this video. The original trilogy ends on a happy note. The dark side is defeated, and all of our favorite characters survive. But according to J.W. Rinsler's behind-the-scenes tell-all, the making of Star Wars: The Return of the Jedi, the seminal tome about how Episode 5 was made, that wasn't the original idea. Episode 6. In early story meetings, writer-director George Lucas considered an ending for The Return of the Jedi that was much darker. As he pitched it to co-writer Lawrence Kasdan, Luke takes his mask off. The mask is the very last thing, and then Luke puts it on and says, "Now I am Vader." Surprise, the ultimate twist. Now I will go and kill the rebel fleet, and I will rule the universe. Kasdan loved the idea, telling his boss that's what I think should happen. But Lucas ultimately decided to go a different way, feeling like Luke going evil was a bit too dark, since his franchise is for kids. I do think that would have been a good twist. But, it's kind of like just repeating history in a way, right? Obviously, in retrospect, we know that that was the story of Anakin Skywalker, but I guess at the time when the movies first came out, nobody knew who Anakin Skywalker was or the story of Darth Vader, so it would have been a good twist in that moment, but probably would have retconned, the prequels probably wouldn't have come out, or they would have been a very different story, or incredibly redundant, who knows. Yoda was almost a monkey. Long before Yoda was created with animatronics and puppetry by master Muppeteer Frank Oz, the plan was to hire an actual actor, a simian actor that is. According to the making of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, they planned to dress up a real monkey in a Yoda costume and mask. There are photos of the monkey in training and the weirdly hideous Yoda mask prototype. Luckily, a crew previously worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey, pointed out that the apes used in the movie's openings were a huge headache, which was enough to convince the Empire's filmmakers to fire their Yoda monkey. Poor monkey. Carrie Fisher slapped Oscar Isaac more than 40 times on the first day of shooting. Poe Dameron, aka Oscar Isaac, goes against General Leia Organa's orders in The Last Jedi, but not without consequence. Isaac revealed in an interview with Stephen Colbert that the scene in which Leia demotes Poe was a difficult one to get right, leading to the lead actress slapping the younger star more than 40 times. Boba Fett first appeared in a country fair parade. Most people believe that the legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett first appeared in 1980. In the 1980s, The Empire Strikes Back. But hardcore fans know it happened a little earlier. In the much maligned Star Wars Holiday Special in 1978. And they'd be wrong too. His history goes back a little bit further. The first time anyone set eyes on Boba Fett was on September 24th, 1978, during the San Anselmo Country Fair Parade in California. The townspeople were only lucky enough to get an advanced look at what would become one of Star Wars' most loved baddies because they shared a zip code with 52 Parkway, the original headquarters of Lucasfilm. Samuel L. Jackson had his lightsaber engraved with a bad word. Of course he did. While doing an interview on BBC's The Graham Norton Show, Samuel L. Jackson insisted that he still owned the purple lightsaber that his character Mace Windu used in some pretty epic battles in the Star Wars prequels. But the most shocking revelation, what Jackson claimed was engraved on his lightsaber, which is not suitable for young children. Any longtime follower of Jackson's career could probably guess it, though. As you may recall, back in 1994, Jackson appeared in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, where he played an enlightened hitman named Jules Winfield, whose wallet is embroidered with the same words. Actually, I don't remember what his wallet says, and I kind of wish this stupid article would tell us, but bad words, can't have that. The original Darth Vader is banned from all Star Wars events. When we think of Darth Vader, the first name that comes to mind is James Earl Jones, the voice behind the series' most infamous villain. But the man in the costume was somebody entirely different, a British bodybuilder named David Prowse. And Prowse apparently isn't among Lucas's favorite people. As Prowse revealed on his website, which has since been taken down, he has been banned from all Lucasfilm associated events, which includes conventions and other Star Wars celebrations. When he reached out for an explanation, Prowse said he was told that I have burned too many bridges between Lucasfilm and myself. No other reason was given. Lucas declined to elaborate, but rumors about the rift, with many believing that Prowse was a bit too vocal about his displeasure in learning that another actor, Sebastian Shaw, would be used for the Vader unmasking scene. Adam Driver recorded his last lines as Kylo Ren in his own closet. According to Matthew Wood, sound editor on The Rise of Skywalker, changes to the script came in so late that he had to travel to the home of Adam Driver, who played villain Kylo Ren, throughout the latest trilogy to record him delivering a few new and necessary lines in a rather low-tech place. I ended up opening up one of his closets where he had all of his suits, and I just pushed the suits out of the way and said, "Hang your head in here." That's pretty cool. The first Star Wars almost caused an actual war. To create the barren desert planet of Tatooine, Lucas found the perfect setting in Tunisia. What he didn't account for was how even a little movie production could lead to socio-political tensions. Tunisia shares a border with Libya, which at the time was ruled by Muammar Gaddafi. Reportedly, the Tunisian government received threats from Gaddafi, warning that a conflict was inevitable if they didn't remove a military vehicle from the Libyan border. The military vehicle in question was actually a Jawa sandcrawler. Lucas agreed to move the prop because, well, inciting an international incident isn't a great way to publicize a movie. Or is it? I mean, it might be. Any publicity is good publicity, isn't that what they say? Chewbacca had to be protected from bear hunters. Compared with the snowy tundras and barren deserts the Star Wars cast and crew had to endure, filming in the redwood forests of Northern California to create the forest moon of Endor for Return of the Jedi must have been a cakewalk, except for actor Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca. During the several-month shoot, he had to be constantly chaperoned by bodyguards in bright vests to protect him from hunters. That's because, in costume, Mayhew could have easily been mistaken for a bear. But more hilariously, the bodyguards had to protect the actor from people searching the forest for Bigfoot. Yes, the Bigfoot that is a mythical ape-like creature that's rumored to be hiding somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. We might be inclined to believe that this was just another tall tale, but Mayhew himself actually confirmed the story on Reddit. Sir Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan, hated Star Wars. That's always good. The great actor Sir Alec Guinness was accustomed to performing Shakespeare before he signed on to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, and according to many accounts, he hated it. In a letter to friends, as obtained by Mashable, Guinness complained that new rubbish dialogue reaches me every other day on wages of pink paper, and none of it makes my character clear or even bearable. What's more, in an anecdote shared in his autobiography, A Positively Final Appearance, Guinness recalls meeting a young fan who asked for an autograph and claimed he'd seen Star Wars 100 times. He agreed to give the child an autograph, but only if he never watched the movie again. He bursted into tears, Guinness wrote. I just hope the lad now in his 30s is not living in a fantasy world of secondhand childish banalities. Wow, this guy's a dick. Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Well, I assume this guy's dead by this point, right? Oh, Lord, that is hilarious. I'll give you an autograph if you promise to never watch this trash movie again, okay, kid? Okay? There are several direct references to The Godfather throughout the franchise. George Lucas is good friends with Francis Ford Coppola and worked on The Godfather. You can see the influence of that film in a few different aspects of Star Wars, starting with Han and Jabba's working relationship, which has an organized crime flavor, but maybe the most evocative visual reference to the Mafia classic is in Return of the Jedi, when Leia strangles Jabba with her chain. It was a pretty badass scene. This mirrors the death of Luca Brasi, a connection that was very deliberate according to the official Star Wars site. In Sync was originally in Attack of the Clones. At the request of Lucas's daughter, he invited members of the boy band In Sync to make a brief cameo in the prequel Attack of the Clones on a break from their 2001 Pop Odyssey tour. Lance Bass and Justin Timberlake opted to pass on the opportunity, but the rest of the band agreed to be suited up as Jedi Knights. They even took part in an actual battle, fighting droids in the climactic Geonosis battle. Joey Fatone remembered that the only direction that they were given was pretend like you're fighting droids. Sadly, we'll never know if they were convincing as Jedi, as their scenes were cut from the final edit. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember them in that movie, which makes sense because they were not in it. Nobody says the word Ewok at any point in Return of the Jedi. Go rewatch the movie if you don't believe us. If that's the case, where would we come up with the word Ewok if they've never said it? I don't know. once in the entirety of The Return of the Jedi does anybody say Ewok. The name is used in the script. A stage direction reads, "A strange little furry face with huge black eyes comes slowly into view. The creature is an Ewok by the name of Wicket," but that's it. So how did we all walk out of theaters knowing that those creatures were called Ewoks? The toys of the era confirmed the name, but it sure did seem like everybody was talking about Ewok long before we were buying the toys. Okay, apparently nobody knows. I guess if you watch the movies and you have subtitles turned on, it'll say like Ewok runs across the screen or whatever, you know. The Porgs only exist to cover up scene stealing puffins. All of those adorable Porgs that annoy poor Chewbacca in The Last Jedi weren't originally part of the script. They were a last-minute addition by director Rian Johnson when he learned that their shooting location, the Irish island of Skellig Michael, is filled with hundreds of very friendly and not at all camera-shy puffins. That is hilarious. As creature concept designer Jake Lunt Davies explained in an interview, they had decided to find a positive solution for what could have been a costly problem. You can't remove them, Davies said of the puffins. You physically can't get rid of them, and digitally removing them is an issue and a lot of work. So let's just roll with it, play with it. And so I think he thought, well, that's great. Let's have our own indigenous species. That's really cool, actually. I like that. Plus, they're adorable. Darth Maul barely blinks in The Phantom Menace. While the number of blinks varies depending on who you ask, Darth Maul's creepy, villainous stare is a hallmark of his character. Reportedly, the red contact lenses worn by actor Ray Park made it difficult and painful to blink, but it was also decided that it was a useful character choice. One instance Star Wars fans do agree on is that Darth Maul briefly shuts his eyes right after he's chopped in half by Obi-Wan. Chewbacca's voice is a mixture of a badger, lion, seal, and walrus. When a Wookiee growls, it sounds like something both familiar and utterly unique. That's the feat of sound designer Ben Burtt, who had to come up with a voice for Chewbacca that wasn't just a recording of an angry bear. Chewbacca did have articulated lips, Burtt once recalled. He could basically open and close his mouth, so you also needed to create a sound which would be believable coming from a mouth that was operated like his. Burtt ended up mixing together the howls and roars of a couple of different creatures, including badgers, lions, seals, and even a walrus from Long Beach, California. That unique bellow has become so iconic that there are even YouTube tutorials which have attracted millions of views, where you can get a step-by-step guide on how to talk like Chewie. Princess Leia was almost played by a sitcom star. Among the many actresses who auditioned to play Princess Leia in A New Hope was Laverne and Shirley star Cindy Williams. Footage of her auditions survived and has made it onto YouTube. Williams, who had previously worked with George Lucas on American Graffiti, read an early version of the scene between Han and Leia regarding the information R2 is carrying and the reward that's due. Decades later, in an interview with the Television Academy, the actress recalled the dialogue being impossible to say and praised Fisher as the only choice for the rebel princess. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's communicator is actually a lady's razor. Some of the most futuristic props in the Star Wars movies were created with some very unusual materials, like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, which was really just the handle of a vintage camera flash, or the medical droid's mouthpiece in Empire Strikes Back, which was just an old school microphone. But our favorite bit of prop trickery is in The Phantom Menace. You may have not looked twice at the communicators used by Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but if you did, you might have noticed noticed that they're shaped exactly like a Gillette razor. That's because they are. Not literally, of course, but they were created from the resin cast of a Gillette Ladies Sensor XL razor. There you go. Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford partied with Monty Python and the Rolling Stones while filming The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, I bet they did. I know Carrie Fisher did a shitload of cocaine. In 1979, Fisher rented a London townhouse from Monty Python member Eric Idle, where she stayed while filming The Empire Strikes Back. She wrote in an essay for Newsweek in 1999. One night, Idle visited after returning from Tunisia, where he and the other Python members had filmed Life of Brian. He brought this drink that he said they gave the extras so they'd work longer. Fisher wrote, I called it Tunisian table cleaner. Harrison Ford stopped by, as did the Rolling Stones, who were recording down the block. We had a really early call the following morning, but you have to measure the fun, Fisher explained. Rolling Stones are early call, and we decided on both. After partying all night with the Stones, Ford and Fisher arrived for the morning shoot without any sleep. The first day of the scene, the Cloud City meeting with Lando. It was their first meeting with Billy D. Williams, and you'll notice in the film both Han, and Leia are all smiles. Well, who wouldn't be after an all-nighter with the Stones? If you're wondering if Han Solo as a kid was as effortlessly cool as the adult version, we almost got a chance to find out in a Revenge of the Sith scene, as concept artist Ian McCaig explained in Revenge of the Sith Art of Book. A young Solo being raised by Chewbacca was briefly considered and even sketched out in illustrations. According to McCaig, little Han was an absolute slob. He even had a line in the original script. I found part of a transmitter droid near the East Bay. I think it's still sending and receiving signals. Not too earth-shattering, granted, but still kind of amazing because that line would have been uttered to Yoda, which would mark the first and only exchange between the two Star Wars characters. Later, the prequel film Solo would fill in some of young adult Han's backstory. Boba Fett's face was revealed in Empire Strikes Back. Pretty much every kid who saw Empire in the theaters had the same thought. I wonder what Boba Fett looks like under that mask. Well, not to blow your minds, but his real mug is in the movie. He is right there in clear sight, sans the mask, and nobody realized. You can be forgiven for not noticing, as you would have needed inside knowledge of the production to know what you were seeing, as Jeremy Bulloch, who plays Boba Fett, explained in a 2000 interview. One day I was sitting around in the Boba Fett outing, and I was asked if I would mind playing this Imperial officer, because there was nobody to play the part. The role in question was Lieutenant Shekel, a character that didn't even have a name yet. His scene, Bulloch said, was in Cloud City, where Princess Leia says, "Luke, it's a trap." I drag her away. Moments earlier, you see me as Boba Fett shooting at Mark Hamill. One scene, and we got a glimpse both of Boba with the mask and without it, and we didn't even realize. Yoda's original name was Buffy. Most Star Wars fanatics already know that Yoda's full name, at least in the original script, was Mink Yoda, before being shortened to something that rolls off the tongue a little easier. But here's a fun fact that might surprise you. In the very, very early writing stages of The Empire Strikes Back, Yoda's original name was Buffy. Yes, Buffy, a name we usually associate with teenage vampire slayers. The world would have been a very different place if Yoda had somehow been given this very un-Yoda-like name. There's a small South Pacific island that accepts Star Wars coins as legal tender. The small Polynesian island of Niue, 1,500 miles off the coast of New Zealand, might not be a galaxy far, far away, but according to Los Angeles Times, it's the only place on the planet where you can pay for goods and services using collectible coins, featuring Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, and other Star Wars characters. The coins they accept, however, are not just any old Star Wars coinage. They have to come from the New Zealand Mint, and they all include a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. On the flip side, also, each coin is sold for around $20, but they only have a face value of 80 cents. So if you actually see Star Wars coins, if you actually use Star Wars coins to buy anything, you're a bigger sucker than Lando making a deal with Darth Vader. And that's gonna be all the Star Wars facts that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I apologize for taking 5 months off from recording, but I am back, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care, my friends. Have a good night.